What's up, Impact Nation? Welcome to the newest episode of the Anthem of Impact Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Jason. I am so glad that I get to do this show again and not, the heavy, shitty stories of the whole speaking out stuff. Sorry, I don't mean to make that weird, but it feels like that was a little off. All right, anyway. So I'm glad to sit here and talk about this show. Um, my first overall thoughts were, this show wasn't bad. It was still a good show. It was very entertaining. Um, but if I'm going to compare this to the last couple weeks, this was kind of underperforming. I don't know what to expect with all the things that have happened. So I don't know what I was necessarily expecting. I knew that they had taken out the other 3-on-3 6-man tag match between Cancel Culture and Crazy Steve and his partners, mystery partners. Which according to, I think it was PW Insider, was going to be the Rascals, Des and Wentz. Which I guess it didn't really make sense. But at the same time, oh well, whatever. The first, I would say, 45 to 50 minutes were very promo heavy. A ton of commercials. And obviously we got the more extended version of the Impact Plus flashback moment of the week. The previous, I would say the last, good couple months, those versions of the Impact Plus weekly flashback of the week were more condensed. And this is kind of flashback more previous to that, and where it was a little bit longer. You almost saw a full match or a full moment instead of a highlighted version of said moment that they're trying to flash back to. I think, again, I don't know what I was expecting, knowing that they were taking out a full match. I guess just I'm hoping going forward, I know they had such short notice, the editing team, to re-edit the show, get new voiceovers in, do all this stuff. So I'm not trying to judge too harshly on it, but I can't help it that it just, things just kind of took me out of it. I wasn't as oh my god, I can't wait to get back from commercial break because I gotta see what's next. They're doing the show flowed so well, and the shows were flowing so well. This episode really reminded me of the Global Force era, where it'd be this match, we have 6 matches or 7 matches on the card. 3 of them or 4 of them are going to happen here in the Impact Zone, but then we got 1 at BCW. We've got 1 in Mexico. We've got 1 over at at Noah in Japan. Or, sometimes you get them in other random independent at WrestlePro or at in Vegas at I can't remember the name of that company that they worked with for a little while. But that Global Force era where it was different matches happen all over the place, all these different places, haha. So it seemed really segmented, right? It never felt like just one good show. It felt like a highlight show. And this one kind of wasn't to that extent, but it resembled it. It was very close to that point. The matches were all pretty good. It's no fault to anybody that was putting in the work. Just bad circumstances, man. You fired Joey Ryan, you fired Dave Crest, you suspend Michael Elgin, and that's kind of what you get. And before I get into the review, I do kind of want to speak on that just a little bit. And the only reason why I kind of want to talk about that for a little bit is because if you guys haven't watched my video where I talk about the whole speaking out movement, I tried to do my best not to really talk about anything specific. I did talk about two people specifically. That would be Joey Ryan, Dave Chris, where I really kind of felt like we wouldn't see them around anymore. And literally right after I get done with the video, recording that video last night is whenever the actual press release came from Impact Wrestling, where they announced the firing of Joey Ryan, Dave Chris, and then the suspension of Michael Elgin. And this is what I got to say about that press release. By Joey Ryan, will not miss you. By Dave Chris, that sucks that you end up being this, what seems to be terrible human being. Maybe not in every aspect of your life, but at least the way you treat women and the way you feel that you can deal with women in your life. Also, shitty person for not fucking apologizing to Rich Swann for putting him out for so long. The Michael Elgin thing. That shit sucks. It just does. He already beat one allegation, and then once he won that allegation, or kind of, I think it was, I can't remember, I didn't follow Michael Elgin at this point whenever he was really going through like his New Japan stuff and really going through a lot of the allegations and the actual court proceedings. I know he obviously won the court case, and I can't remember if it was after the court case or it was right before and it helped him win. That the accuser kind of admitted like, well, no, he never actually, did this thing, but like he did other kind of random things, but then also allowed other things or whatever that whole thing was. I'm not going to speak too much on it because obviously, as you can tell, I don't know. But with this case that's come to light right now, with his history of clearly moving on, I've heard from several different people that he's been an amazing employee. I think just as fans can see that he's been an amazing employee, an employee on social media. He's like the only one, maybe outside of Ethan Page, that just constantly supports, promotes Impact Wrestling, puts Impact Wrestling in a whole new light, lives for Impact Wrestling. Moose is kind of in that conversation a little bit too. I know he calls himself Mr. Impact. He is willing to kind of go out there and be a voice for Impact, but he doesn't quite do it to the extent that Michael Elgin does. So even if this thing is true that happened, I think I saw it happened like in 2015 or 2016, I believe. It would be very disappointing if it's true, period. But if it's true or if it's not true and Impact still feels like they have to cut ties with Michael Elgin, just as a fan, man, it would be so disappointing. I will always understand at the end of the day, the real lives of these people will always come first over stories and the gimmicks and the promotions. And as it should. But as a fan, man, it would be so disappointing because I think Michael Elgin will and should win the World Heavyweight Championship at Slammiversary. I think he should hold on to it for a very, very, very long time. Like if I had a dream scenario, my dream scenario would be Michael Elgin will win the World Heavyweight Championship at Slammiversary. Rusev will come to Impact Wrestling. Now, whatever name he goes by, once he comes to Impact, I don't know. I know his real name is like Miro or something like that. Miro, something like it's something like that. Um, Damn, I've been doing this. Okay, sorry. I only bring this up because I didn't think this would come over the microphone whenever I was recording my video last night, and then when I went to rewatch it, yeah, you can hear that. That's the train. I live very close to a train track. Now, I have been doing these videos for a very long time. From this specific house, I've been doing it even longer. I don't think I've really ever had the train roll through while doing a video. Last night and now tonight. Sorry. But I had to bring it up because I know you guys are hearing it now. I didn't know if you guys would hear it in the video I recorded last night, but I know you're going to hear it in this one. Sorry. But anyway, I would bring in, so if they, I'm hoping that they sign Rusev, and then they kind of bring him in a little bit like they did Michael Elgin. And what I mean by that is, at Slammiversary, he makes his debut in whatever way you want. Whether it's he does it at the end of the night and walks in, maybe stares down Elgin, maybe attacks Elgin a little bit, kind of like how Elgin debuted himself at Rebellion against Brian Cage, right? But he didn't go straight into then getting title shot after title shot. He always was put in line and would be in matches to get a contendership match, to get a title match, to get but they made him so dominant for so long, and I think Rusev could do that same thing, right? So you build it up again for however many months, 6 months, 10 months, 12 months, a year and a half, then you finally get it, and this would be, I think, the best main event ever at a Bound for Glory. And I don't want it at Bound for Glory 2020. I want it at Bound for Glory 2021. Rusev, or whatever he's going to go by, versus Michael Elgin. In a main event for the World Heavyweight Championship. Amazing. And then you finally have Rusev win it. And then you have Rusev start going against Moose, right? Going against an Ace Austin. Going against an Eddie Edwards. Going against a Madman Fulton. Going against a Sami Callihan. Going up against a Ken Shamrock. Now, again, it depends on that. Now, let's say they also bring in an EC3 or they bring in an Eric Young. Of course, you have those type of matches too, which would be great. I mean, I've thought about it a lot, man, and Rusev and Impact Wrestling would be amazing. So many great fresh matchups. I think you could really let Rusev be who he is. Have some really great, just brute, big boy matches. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I hope that's what it'd be. That would be my dream. That would be my fantasy book. Okay? But let's go ahead. Let's get into tonight's show. Like I said, it's not a show that I necessarily was disappointed in or thought was bad. It just, to me, it felt a little short from what they've been doing the last 3-4 weeks or so. Whew. Sorry. I'm trying to stay up, man. I've been up since like 4:45 this morning, so every once in a while you got to get a little energy in you. You got to feel the bang. Not a sponsor, but I love these things. So if anybody knows how to get in contact, hey bang. I know I don't have a whole lot of following, but if you just want a random person to like support your product, send me some free shit. Anyway, all right. So let's go ahead and get into the show for tonight. Start off with Tasha Steelz versus Nevaeh. Which, of course, Tasha ended up winning with a distraction roll-up. Biggest thing that came out of this match that stood out to me big time was Tasha Steelz. Before she came to Impact, I've heard of her. Never really watched like a whole lot of her matches. Definitely not really sat there and focused on any of her matches. I had heard of her. I had seen some stuff, but nothing too intense. Like I never really focused on the match, like I said. And since she's been in Impact, it's not like she's had bad matches. I think she's looked good, and I'm like, okay, cool, really good pickup. But this match specifically, she stood out as the star, and just really impressed me with this match. I thought she was really, really good. Just this whole thing overall, I think it's very clear, especially with commentary. I think we're definitely headed towards bringing back the Knockouts tag team titles, which I'm totally down for. Cannot wait. Love the team of Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz. Also love the team of Nevaeh and Jessica Havoc. I thought this match was pretty good. Was decent enough, but I think Tasha just shined in this match overall, and was really, really good in this match. Excuse me. Then we go to only downfall about drinking an energy during this. Don't mean to be too gross with that, but anyway. Then we go to they show the Dianna Perazzo and Jordan Grace interview from Busted Open Radio that we've been hearing about on social media all week, where they kind of really got heated. We finally got to see that, which was pretty good. I thought both of them looked very genuine, legit, hit off some great promos. In my eyes, I think this is the best Jordan Grace promo I've heard since she's been in Impact. And, I mean, I don't know if you really consider it a promo, but, it is. But this one led to a backstage kind of interview where Gia Miller is asking Dianna about her thoughts on what Jordan said during that interview on Busted Open, and just kind of like she's been back and that she wants to fight and what does she think. But while Deanna's giving her thoughts, Alicia shows up. And, I don't dislike Alicia at all, but because she's pretty decent in the ring. She fits that mold of she's good enough to help put on a really good match for the newcomers or for anybody else that needs to kind of get over. She kind of fits that mold just really well. She's just not good on the mic. Whenever she's stuck in storylines, whether it's the Eddie, Tommy, Sammy storyline, whether it's the Ace Austin stuff, in those type of situations, she's fine. She's very passable at some of her acting and the way she talks. But whenever she's just got to sit backstage and shoot a promo into the camera, she's just not that great. And I don't know if it was just kind of, I don't know what it was, but even like Dianna in that situation just did not cut a very good promo. It seemed very choppy, very just kind of, okay. Oh, so you're, okay, yeah, well, I'll beat you, kind of thing, and it wasn't great. But then we moved on to that, and we get Johnny Swinger backstage, and he's sitting in there, and he hears a knock on the door in the locker room, and he opens the door, and he's Rich Swann, and he's like, yeah, thank you, brother, well, I've been waiting on you, man. And, it's talking about, hey, yeah, you're going to tag with me and Chris Bay and go up against Willie, and Swann's like, nah. And, man, I'll go ahead and say it, man, I was wrong. I really, this was like the one prediction I really thought I was like, haha, I'd be coming on tonight's show, I'm like, haha, I got it right. I predicted it, I knew it. And, no, I was wrong. Yeah, I was wrong. I also, even like, throughout the night, I was like, you know what? I think that's the Swerve thing. That's why he went to Rich Swann first. So then he could say, no, in fact, I'm going to tell Willie what you asked me to do, brother. And, but then he'd come around, and whenever it came down to bell time, all of a sudden Rich was going to come out. Or maybe at some point, maybe it'd be a 3-on-2, and then at some point Rich would come out, right? But that never happened. In fact, we'll get into all the different segments that Johnny ended up going through trying to find a partner. And then later on, who the actual partner ended up being. We'll go through that here after a bit. But, yeah, I was wrong. Sucks. I was really hoping I was going to be right about that. I really was. I was really hoping I was going to be right about that. But, ended up not being true. So then after that segment, we go to the North being backstage. And they're talking, and Ethan's still pissed about, people not being backstage and not watching them, but they were watching an iPad and watching Ken Shamrock. And who the fuck is Ken Shamrock? And who cares about Ken Shamrock? Well, while he's talking shit on him, Ken Shamrock comes walking up behind him. And he confronts him. But then Josh Alexander steps up to the plate, and a match ends up being made. Josh Alexander versus Ken Shamrock. But then we also go, and commercials and all the shit, and we come back, and we're also backstage. And again, like I said, that the first hour, damn near, was like nothing but these backstage promos and vignettes, and it's fine, but it put a huge slowness to the show. Whereas last week and the week before, the way they really had everything edited and perfectly, it just flowed really well. And every segment flowed to the next segment and kept you very interested and intrigued and on the edge of your seat, because whether it was the match that was really good, or it's a backstage segment, or it's a vignette, or it's a promo, you were just glued because you want to see what's going to happen next. And everything fed into the next segment and fed in really, 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 really well. This week, it was a little more choppy. I totally understand why, but it doesn't take away from how I felt about how the show went, right? It's not like me knowing why it was taken away from the show didn't keep me from going, but it still makes it feel like it's choppy and it's slow. But anyway, Moose is backstage. He's kind of talking about some stuff, and how he's the Impact Champion and all this stuff. And then there was a guy sitting back there with red hair, red beard, and glasses. Is that supposed to be Heath Slater? I don't think it's him, but it kind of looks like Heath Slater a little bit. But anyway, as he's talking about, him being the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, you hear Crazy Steve saying he's the fake champion. Moose gets offended, and of course challenges him next week to the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And so that's now set up for next week, which should be actually a really good match. I actually think that's going to be a really, really good match. I'm excited for that. So then we go to the ring. We get the in-ring debut of Dianna Perazzo versus Alicia. And, it's the kind of match you were going to expect, right? And it was fine. Dianna wins with the armbar. But then after the match, Jordynne Grace comes down, tries to attack Dianna, but Dianna realized it, rolled out of the ring, and was like, no, you're not touching me until you give me that title. If you give me that title match, then you can touch. So then we go again backstage. We got Johnny Swinger again. This time he's talking to Suicide. He's trying to get Suicide to team up, but Suicide, vanishes. Then we go to commercial. We come back. Hold on, sorry. Get really emotional? No, sorry. I think I'm about to sneeze. Alright, sorry. Sorry about that. And that won't be edited out because I tape like to tape. I don't edit because I'm bad at it. But anyway, we go back again backstage. Swinger is now sitting at a table trying to get Hernandez, or as the Pope likes to say, Hernandi, trying to get Hernandez to team up with him. And Hernandez says that he will, but only if you can beat me in an arm wrestling competition, match, whatever you call that. And finally, whatever, he's like, sure, I guess. Hernandez wins, and then it kind of became like a micro brawler ad a little bit too, which is fine. Those segments are cool. Like I'm totally fine with them throwing that kind of little advertisement in with that. But of course, Swinger loses. As he's walking away, he runs into Taya and tries to get Taya to team up with him. And Ty won't do it because she's looking for Bravo. Plus, we already know that Ty's going to be facing Suzie at some point tonight, so she's already booked. But anyway, then we move on. Then we get to the Shamrock versus Josh Alexander match, and it never became a match. The North, while Ken Shamrock's walking in the ring, jumps Ken Shamrock, beats him to a pulp. Match never starts, and Shamrock is attended to by some paramedics, if you will. Then we come back in and we finally get the Taya versus Suzie match. This match was really, really good. Sorry, there it was. It finally came. sorry. This match was actually really, really good. This match was very good. Number one, it was really good because of some really, really good action, right? Especially kind of once the match got going. And I really, really like matches that do that. That have this progression. Because usually if you have a progression match, it means that they're doing a lot of storytelling. And especially with Suzie's character, there is that story of, we know it's really Su Yung. We know this is that different personality, that nicer personality, more timid personality. And I love the fact that we started seeing a little, the little moments where it seems like Su Yung might be kind of coming out in her, and they really built that up, right? They mentioned it a lot. After the match, Taya wins with the Road to Valhalla. After the match, Taya is really talking trash, trying to get Suzie to kind of come out in her. But then Kylie Ray comes down for the save. Kylie's amazing. She looked really mad. She attacked Taya and got out. The whole thing was awesome. After that, we get Jimmy Jacobs backstage trying to talk to Fulton, but Ace Austin was talking, and this is kind of another one of those like weird edits. Like, you could tell he was not done talking, but it just goes, impact, and then they went to commercial. So that sucks again. Again, I understand why. It doesn't matter if I know why or not. It still takes away from kind of how you're viewing the show. Then we get the six-man tag, and right before they show backstage, Chris Bay and Johnny Swinger talking, and we find out that the third man is Rohit Raju, which is fine. It's a little disappointing, one, because it is Rohit, but two, because if you're a fan of Rohit like I am right now, you're hoping for where are they going with him? It looked like they were going to push. Then he loses in the first round. But then you're like, okay. But then he cuts another promo and you're like, oh, okay, well maybe this is one of those storylines where, okay. Then he has a match and he wins. And you're like, cool. But then Rhino spears him after the match. You're like, okay. Then the next week, he attacks Rhino. You're like, cool. Then he has another match with Rhino and he loses. And you're like, okay, well, what the... Okay. So, what's going on? Are they going to now maybe have him constantly go after a Rhino and they're going to have a program that maybe allows them to maybe team? Or is this where they bring in Heath Slater to be Rhino's tag team or tag partner, and then Rohit finds somebody else to then tag, maybe bring in back Shira and have Shira and Rohit as a new tag team, right? Or where are they going with it? Instead, it just kind of doesn't go anywhere, and now here we are, Rohit's randomly in this six-man tag. Okay, match was good. It was fun. But shockingly, to be honest with you, like very shockingly, Chris Bay pins Willie Mack for the win. What? I would have thought either either Cody Deaner, Johnny Swinger, or Rohit was probably going to take the pin. And it wasn't that way. Chris Bay pinned Willie Mack. Okay, cool. The match again was cool. It was fun. There's some good highlights, but totally shocked win. And to be honest with you, I'm cool with that. I'm totally fine with a good shock win, as long as it makes sense. And it did. And there is a storyline going into probably what's going to be the match: Chris Bay versus Willie Mack for the X Division Championship at Slammiversary. Sign me up for that match. That match is going to be awesome. And for the first time, to be honest with you, since Chris Bay's joined the company, Chris Bay didn't look like the newcomer indie guy. He looked like a star in this match. Like, he just really did. But then after that, we get D'Lo Brown, or we get D'Lo Brown. Well, we did get a D'Lo Brown, kind of with Reno Scum kind of thing, and then Falaba and TJP come and confront, and so we're going to see Reno Scum versus TJP and Falaba next week. But then we get the main event, Madman Fulton versus Eddie Edwards. Like a super, very good match. Eddie, I think, can put anybody over. I think he put a broom over, and that's what they did in this match. Is they put Madman Fulton over big time. There's a couple moves that I didn't like. Like, Madman should never be put into a Blue Thunder Bomb. He should never be put into a Liger Bomb. Those moves, like, just don't do that. I think Eddie probably should have given him at least one Boston Knee Party instead. Have him kick out at like one, to kind of, if you're trying to show Madman's like ability to just really be able to take punishment and come back. But Madman Fulton did end up winning. I think that was the right move. Puts Madman over for future reference later on. It doesn't hurt Eddie at all, especially since Ace was already kind of getting involved throughout the whole match too. It doesn't hurt. But good match. I'm actually not disappointed in Madman Fulton winning. Now, the moment we were all waiting for all night. The end credit scene. Woo! What? D'Lo Brown at a laptop like this, talking to somebody, and he's I wouldn't mind getting the band back together. Now, mind you, the flashback of the week was an Aces and Eights flashback. D'Lo Brown starts talking about, I'm tired of everybody thinking I'm just like a company lackey, man. I wouldn't mind getting the band back together. Gets up from his seat, Aces and Eights vest on the chair. Ace and Eight's music starts playing, and he grabs the vest off, and we're done. Woo-hoo-hoo. That would be great if this whole thing is, that's the faction. Now, it's not the same people, but it's the faction. Maybe the faction's coming back. Aces and Eights, but it's going to be like Eric Young and whoever else. I think it's going to be great. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen. I love these end credit scenes. Even after Slammiversary, Impact Wrestling, please keep those around. It takes me back to the good old days of watching like Nitro and, really just Nitro, back during the NWO days. You had, you always were left on a cliffhanger that you had to watch the next week. Keep those around, please. But anyway, guys, that was this week's show. Can't wait to watch it next week now. So, ladies and gentlemen, Impact Nation, peace.